when we do the demonstration, that information that's both in our QA site and our production site uses real live data. So if we're not able to properly hide that information, we may not post that portion of it. But we're going to be doing a lot more of these demos throughout the year, okay? So we wanted to get started by reminding everyone that ethics training is a yearly requirement, okay? My team alone has trained over 1,000 people in the last 2 days, and it surprises us how many employees don't realize that ethics training is a yearly requirement, and they're often confused as to why they've been enrolled in one of our open CETC sessions and why they're actually there. So we're hoping that with your help, we can kind of build a better partnership in communicating both here on the colleague side and with our agency partners in disseminating that information to the employees, that ethics training truly is a yearly requirement, okay? So for those of you who may be new to the training environment, executive law mandates that all state employees receive live training every single year. And that includes everyone, okay? So our big slogan right now is ethics training is for everyone, because it includes full-time employees, part-time employees, seasonal, FCS, non-FCS, new hires, in some cases interns as well. If you're confused or you need more clarification as to who it involves, reach out to me, reach out to Megan. She's a great resource. Reach out to the team and we can further clarify, okay? So ethics training is for everyone. For those of you who are new or need training materials, if you've onboarded new training staff or you have more people in your agency that you'd like to be able to to the ethics handbook, okay? So the ethics handbook is just a PDF document that we put together that's really helpful for employees and kind of getting a general awareness as to what those ethics laws are. And we also have some new additions. So we have an edition specifically geared to those agencies that have unpaid or per diem board members, okay? So there's a special edition for those folks if you want to utilize it. In addition to our campus edition, we're actually really excited to have a new campus edition geared to our SUNY and CUNY state employees. It also features real-world enforcement actions, so I think it really helps with the buy-in with regards to getting those academics to understand why it is that they're required to take training. So if you don't have access, let us know. We're happy to give that to you. Now, another thing that my team wanted me to bring up is we often get questions regarding requests to modify the live CETC. Where I'm live, I'm talking to you, I have the ability to answer questions for you. So that's really what we mean by live training, okay? But this is some of the things that we do encourage you to do. So you can discuss your stricter policies within your agency within the actual training, right? So we have some agencies that have 0 gift policies. Our minimum standard is you can't accept a gift over $15. Well, there's a 0, okay? And you're more than welcome to be able to kind of tailor the CETC to dive into your specific agency policies, okay? So that's completely permissible and allowable. So here's what you can't do. Okay, so you can't record the CETC as a substitute for live delivery, okay? So that's not something that's allowable. That's not something that the board here has approved. Live training really does mean live, okay? You also cannot print and distribute a copy of the PDF, okay? And provide that to your employees as a PDF, create your own attestation and have them sign that as a substitute for either the live CETC requirement or for refresher training, okay? That's also something that right now is not allowable and it has not been approved by the board, okay? Lastly, all subject areas must be covered. If you know that you're going to do a training and there's no FCS filers in there, you can skip along that section, but we want you to be able to give a general, awareness of all of the ethics rules to your employees, okay? Now, the law also mandates refresher training, okay? We do provide an online ethics refresher training course. It's available for those of you who have access to the Statewide Learning Management System, known as SLMS, okay? So we do make that available. That does satisfy that refresher training requirement, okay? We also provide, for those of you who do have a learning management system, we also do provide other formats if you're able to inject that format into your learning management system, okay? I will have a strong caveat there too. Now, all we did was purchase a license for software. We created the training program, and then we export it in the formats, okay? If your learning management system, unfortunately, isn't compatible with the software and what we have in terms of resources at our disposal, unfortunately, there's not much we can do. We're looking for other alternatives to be able to provide a different form of an online training. However, due to the Phase 2 launch and everything that's surrounding it, we're a little behind in scheduling with regards to that. And it's not the best answer that I like to give, but it's the only answer that I have. So if your employees are not able to access SLMS for whatever reason, and our online zip files don't work with your learning management system, unfortunately, the only other alternative we have right now is that you need to continue to deliver live training. Again, it's not the answer that we love. It's the only answer that we have right now. We are working on alternatives, but I will say we're a very small team, and the Phase 2 launch has taken up a significant amount of our time, okay? So let's get right into our Phase 2 updates. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Phase 1, Phase 1 allowed you to report agency-wide aggregate training totals, okay? So you could say, I have 1,000 employees for a specific month, and I trained 100 people. That's really what Phase 1 allows you to do. Now, Phase 2 is transitioning all of us, colleague included, from reporting these agency-wide training totals to reporting on the individual employee level. And I know that makes a lot of us nervous. I know for some of you, you may have thousands of employees. We understand that. We want to work with you, okay? Now, the biggest thing you need to understand is, what category am I in? Am I part of what we call the OSC data import, or am I an outlier agency? Okay. So after this call, if you still need help, still need to help you work through that, give me a call, reach out to me, I can help you work through that. But the easiest way to understand what category you lie into is to take a look at your pay stub, okay? So if you're paid by the Office of the State Comptroller, all of us have our own unique employee ID number that begins with either a capital N, a capital C, followed by 8 numeric digits, okay? And I have an example. I have like 2 examples for you on the slide, okay? So that's the easiest way to know. In your agency profile, okay? That's another way of knowing. We had a couple of agencies who reached out to me and said, I get an OSC paycheck, my employees aren't in there. And we noticed that in certain cases, that your agency ID number that we have is slightly different than what OSC uses. So we were able to locate your employees and put them in your agency profile. If you're 100% certain that your employees are paid by OSC and you don't see any employees in your agency profile, reach out to us. We'll have our ICS folks take a look at it, and we'll do our best to research the issue for you, okay? So some information about the OSC data import. Your data is going to be automatically refreshed every single month. The first time it was refreshed the first time that it was loaded was on June 13th, the day that we launched, okay? We've already refreshed that data once already, and that occurred on July 2nd, all right? We are planning on refreshing that data again on August 2nd, okay? Now, your new hire information will automatically be populated into SETA, and new employees are given a 90-day due date. That's part of the executive law change, okay? New hires need to take that live CETC within 90 days. Now, employees who have transferred to another agency or left state service need to be processed by OSC first. We call OSC the golden record, which means all employee status changes have to be processed by OSC first before they appear correctly in our application, okay? So depending on the effective date of the change, let's say you have a new hire with an effective date of late June. You may not see that new hire until the August refresh, depending on when we refresh. So just something to keep in mind. So for you OSC folks, this is what we don't want you to do. Please don't do that, okay? Do not mark employees inactive in your profile. If you go in there and you see that Marlena retired or Marlena left state service or transferred, do not mark anyone inactive in the system, okay? That change has to happen on OSC first. If you'd like, reach out to me with a couple of examples. We can take a look at it and make sure there's nothing going on with the master file, okay? Do not add new employees to your agency roster. Again, all of those status changes have to happen on the OSC side before they're accurately reflected in our SETA, okay, in your profile for your agency. And also, we understand that in certain situations that you may have employees that are hired or assigned to two different agencies. We see this a lot with like ITS folks, with individuals that work for the chamber, where you may work for the chamber, but you also work for Department of Budget. You may work for a different agency. For right now, don't add that additional agency to their profile because we noticed in our last refresh, which again occurred on July 2nd, that information was overridden, okay? So we're working with our ITS team to kind of develop a more permanent solution, but for now, don't do anything to the profile. If you have questions, again, I'm here for you, the team's here for you. We've currently been buried in emails. I promise you we're getting to all of you as quickly as we can, okay? Now, some information for our outlier friends, okay? If you happen to go into your agency profile, the easiest way to determine whether or not you're an outlier or not is if you look at the bottom of your agency profile, you're going to see a no data in table message before you, okay? That's what you're going to see. Outliers include most boards, councils, and authorities. Outlier agencies are required to provide us. Okay, so your first step for outliers, for those of you who are outliers, you look at your profile, I have no employee information, what do I do? The first thing that you need to do is to provide us with what we call this employee HR training roster, okay? So reach out to us. We'll be happy to send you the spreadsheet. It's a very simple spreadsheet. We'll give you instructions on what information to provide. All you need to do is complete it. You email it back to us. We give it to our ITS folks, and they're able to upload that, okay? So that's the first thing that you need to do is to tell us who your employees are, okay? In the meantime, both our OSC friends and our outlier friends are going to need to continue to submit the agency-wide aggregate training totals. I haven't made the official announcement. We're a little behind on messaging. I apologize. We were getting ready for today's forum. But for those of you who have been waiting to submit your June 2024 training stats, the ability to do so, that phase 1 functionality, returned late yesterday, okay? So you'll probably be receiving a message from me either later today or tomorrow regarding that. And this is just a quick visual to show you what that looks like. So if you're an outlier, if you take a look at the arrow below, you'll see that no data available in table message. That's a pretty huge indicator that you actually are an outlier, okay? And let's get a little bit into the training cycle in the application. So this is what was approved by our board for the calendar year 2023 through 2025 training schedule, okay? I'm not going to go through this a lot. It's on our website. If you have questions about it, you can reach out to myself. You can reach out to Megan. She's a great resource for this. But this is really what you need to know. This is the high level what you need to know. With regards to setup for the application right now is only accepting training completion dates for the 2024 calendar year, okay? So when you're going in there and you're entering training completion dates, only focus on your efforts for the 2024 calendar year. The big thing that you need to know is that ethics training happens every single year, okay? It's just not a one and done type of deal. Every single year, your employees are going to be required to take some form of ethics training. For those of us who are established employees, we've been on the payroll for a while, okay, we will always have the same training due date. So every year, we're going to be required to take training by 12/31 of every single year, okay? And we gave everyone a blanket training due date because we wanted to give you folks the utmost flexibility in planning your training calendars. Previously, it worked this way. If I took the training on 7/10, then I was due to take training by 7/10 the following year, okay? And we wanted to be able to give folks a lot more flexibility, again, in managing their training calendars. So we gave everyone a blanket due date of 12/31 of every single year, okay? But let's take a look at what the training cycles actually look like in the application, all right? So for the 2024 and 2025 calendar year, you have a more flexible training cycle. And we did this intentionally, okay? Because we understand that when we launched the on-demand in SLMS, that for many agencies, that was the easiest way to be able to train the most amount of people and provide state employees with a general awareness of the ethics laws. So there's only two different patterns that employees can really be on, okay? So for those employees who took live training in 2024, okay, this is the top row, the CETC row, the following year, you would be required to take the online training, okay, in 2025, followed by the CETC, and then the refresher again the following year. That's the cycle. CETC first, refresher the following year, CETC, and then refresher, okay? Or in certain cases in 2024, and I've seen this because I have access to the SLMS query for the on-demand, I noticed that there's around 40,000 folks who have taken the on-demand training. So for those folks for 2024, their first training was actually the refresher training, the online training, okay? So the following year, they would be required to take the CETC training, and then refresher training, and then the CETC training, okay? So those are the only two cycles that are available for employees to take. I will say, though, that the CETC does have higher weight than the refresher training. So what does that actually mean? That means that in certain cases, your employees can continue to take live training every single year, if that's something that you prefer. If your agency sits down and you would prefer to have all your employees receive live training every year, you can do that. You don't have to take the online. However, you know, the online is not a substitute for the live training. I think that's where people get a little bit hung up, okay? So you can take the live training to satisfy the refresher training, but you can't do it in the reverse, all right? So there's only two cycles. I either take the CETC first, then I do the refresher, CETC refresher, or it's the opposite. So here's the big change starting Jan 1, 2026. Right now, we're allowing flexibility because we wanted to be able to get the most amount of people trained in whatever way is the most convenient and flexible to you, okay? But on Jan 1, 2026, it changes. So there's no flexibility in the training cycle come Jan 1, 2026, okay? So your current employees are going to stay on whatever cycle you have them on right now. That's not going to change. Where this flexibility kind of ends is for new folks, okay? So for new employees moving forward, or for those employees that haven't been trained yet and needed to get trained, they're going to be on a more rigid schedule. They're going to have to start the training cycle by taking that live training first, and then they'll take the refresher, live refresher. So that's the big change there. So Andy, I see that you're asking, are agencies entering aggregate training data, individual employee training data, or both? Okay, so the answer is both depending on who you are. So if you're OSC, and we'll get into this a little bit more, so I'm not going to take too much time on this right now, so we can just kind of power through the slide deck. If you're OSC, to allow you plenty of time to catch up on putting in that employee information, we're allowing you to do both. So starting today, you'll be submitting your June 2024 aggregate training stats while also updating your employee profile to make sure that we know exactly who's being trained. But we'll get into that a little bit more as we continue. But I want to take a moment to alert everyone as to what we're doing here at COLIG to kind of help streamline this administration of the training program and take away some of the burden from you folks, okay? So what are we doing here at COLIG? So we've been importing training days. So anyone that has taken training with us, with our amazing training team, we've been working really, really hard in uploading all of that information into the application. So on the 18th of every month, I go into SLMS. So for those employees that are taking that on-demand training, I go into SLMS, I export a report, and I upload all of the training completion for every single employee that has taken that on-demand in SLMS. So I'm doing that. So you don't have to worry about that, okay? Let me do that in the interim, and I'll let you know if it gets too much or if things change. But for now, only focus on entering information for your live CETCs, the ones that you're doing in-house, okay? Those are the ones that you're really responsible for. We have been updating for any employee that took a live training with us here at COLIG. We've been data entering all that information from Jan 2024 through June 27, okay? Now, the big caveat there is we are obviously only able to put training information for folks who have active profiles in the system. If you're an outlier agency, you don't have any employee information, okay, in your agency profile, we're obviously unable to update records, okay, because obviously we don't know who your folks are. So that's why it's really important for any of you who belong to an outlier agency to provide us with these templates of who your employees are so that if we've trained your folks, we can help you update that information, okay? Otherwise, we're kind of at a standstill, all right? So as I mentioned, training records were only updated for employees who have existing profiles, and as of today, I know Brianna actually did a big push yesterday. We have around over nearly 2,000 employees with updated training records for those of us, you know, that took training with us. I will say it's a huge administrative burden because we have to look up each one of their employee ID numbers individually. So we're doing our best here. If you know that your employees have been trained by us and you have their certificate, you have confirmation from us, and you want to go in there and update those records, please do so. It's a huge help to us as well, okay? So as of today, we have over 272,000 names, employees in SETA. We have around 83,000 emails, and we've updated around 45,000 training records. And like I said, for the SLMS folks, I'll be uploading more training data the 18th of this month. So what are your training data entry due dates? Okay, so if you're OSC, because the majority of your information is already in there, your deadline is September 30th. So that we're hoping by September 30th, you're able to update all of your training records by then, okay? And then you'll begin to transition to reporting on employee level data. But in the meantime, you'll still be required to submit monthly training stats, okay? It's kind of, kind of segueing to Andy's question there. So for June, let's say, you're gonna go in there, you're gonna submit, you're gonna say, I trained 1,000 people, I held 5 sessions, I had 25 people take the on-demand, as an example, okay? While you're going into your agency, right? We don't know who your employees are. So we'll work with you on that. But your deadline is by the end of the year to provide us with both the names, email addresses, and identifying numbers, if you have that, of your employees, in addition to training completion information. We need both by the end of the year so that we can compile our annual report, okay? So here are just some basic training recommendations that we put together. For those folks who are OSC data import, you need to focus on entering training data for your live CETC deliveries, the deliveries that you're doing in-house. If you have confirmation from us that your employees have taken training with us and you'd like to update that, that's great. It's a huge help to us. For those of you who have parent subsidiary agencies, and I know there's quite a few of you that are responsible for multiple agencies, we do recommend wherever possible, if you have folks in-house, that you assign additional folks to help you, okay? That you assign additional agency users to kind of provide us with your employee HR record template. We'll give that to our ITS team to upload. We'll give you email confirmation when that's all set, and then you can begin entering training completion information. But in the meantime, both categories, OSC, Outlier, you folks are still required to submit monthly training stats. Even if you conducted no training, that's also something that I wanted to bring up. So let's say for June you held no sessions, trained no people, you're still required to submit a monthly report to us, okay? So what are our reporting obligations? We need to report training figures every single month to our commission board in our monthly commission meetings. Statutorily by law, we're required to do both quarterly and yearly reporting, okay? So I will say that we're going to begin putting together our second quarter stats. We understand that we just provided the ability to do so again, so there'll be a little bit of wiggle room there, but we are going to be putting that together hopefully relatively quickly. And we begin pulling stats for the annual report sometime around November. And for those of you who are wondering, well, when do you start with folks who are non-compliant, meaning they didn't take their training requirement for the whole year? We start looking at that around the first second week in January. So you really want to make a conscientious effort to try to get as many folks in your agency trained. If you need help, contact us. Our training calendar, we have a huge whiteboard. It's quickly filling up, but our team loves to make room for more people, okay? So just give us a call, let us know you're having difficulties, and we'll do our best to help. So it's a great segue. What are the training opportunities with COLEG? Now we offer two different types of trainings, okay? We have our open CETC sessions, and we have agency-specific training sessions. Open training sessions is pretty much that means that we're only training employees from your agency, right? So from health, from labor, from OER, the only times that we kind of make exceptions is if we're training folks from different, like, let's say, SUNY campuses, right? So, or if you're a parent subsidiary agency. So if you're part of corrections, let's say, and you wanted to train, a couple of your facilities at one time, that's fine. That's still considered an agency-specific training, okay? So we have a Google Calendar, and just reach out to the team. They'll let you know where it's at. We also have this information on our website. It's pretty simple. You just look at our calendar. If there's an available spot, you can reserve it. A member from our team will reach out to you. If you have employee data already in the system, we'll provide you with a customized template. That way it makes importing training data a lot easier for both us and you in the future. Okay, so if you have questions about it or you're interested in reserving one, we've been doing a lot for our SUNY CUNY friends. We've actually, they just recently trained over 1,000 people. And Tammy, go ahead.
I just wanted to say there has been a lot of confusion over the past couple months with regards to agency-specific training and perhaps the messaging that's going out to your employees. We get a lot of people and just employees reserving a specific date for an agency. And so it takes us calling that employee and saying, did you want your whole agency or are you just looking for individual training? So we do know that the messaging may be to just go to the website and sign up for a training, and that they perhaps don't know that agency-specific training sessions are for whole agencies. So I just wanted to bring that up because we do have a lot of employees signing up for agency-specifics.
No, thank you. That's a great point, Tammy. And I did notice that someone had mentioned that Google Calendar is blocked by many agencies due to security issues. We're completely aware of that. Right now, it's the only thing that we have as a resource available to us, but it doesn't prevent you from reaching out to us, right? So if you know that there's a date in the calendar that you're interested in, that you'd like to be able to reserve and do an agency-specific training, just send us an email in our shared inbox, with the subject line requesting an agency-specific training, and someone from the team will get back to you. If that date is already booked, we're happy to provide you with some alternate dates. Oh, I did want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about some upcoming changes to our enrollment process. So right now, for both our agency specifics, Tammy mentioned that you go into Google. I mentioned that you book trainings that way. And for our open sessions, we were using Google Forms, okay? So we're going to be transitioning completely away from that because the application is going to be moving into a different secure form that's actually affiliated to our application, to SETA. So this is the way that it's going to work. I'm in the process of testing it. So now that phase 1 is back into the system, this is going to be the next big push that we're hoping to have available by fall. So all of your employees, if they want to take training with us here at Coleg, okay, they're going to go click on this link. They're going to see a screen very similar to this. Well, they'll have to enter in their employee ID, first and last name information, confirm their email address, put in their agency, and they're going to click Find a Training. And when they do that, it's going to let them know what all of the open training sections that are available to them or agency-specific trainings that we may be offering that pertain to them, okay? So all of our enrollment is going to happen there. But this is a great segue for me, for those folks who have been asking me, why do I need to provide you with email information? If you want your folks to get trained by us, right, we need that email information for multiple reasons. One, our board has, their interpretation is that part of the administration, right, of the training requirement is also communicating with folks, okay? And I can understand where that may make some of you uncomfortable, but that's our interpretation of how we administer the training program. In addition to that, if you want to take a training with us, we need your email address in order for us to be able to provide you with the WebEx information, the WebEx link, et cetera, a certificate, confirmation, all of those things, all right? This kind of shows you what happens once you enter in all of that information. Below, you'll see under Select Class, they can just click on that radio button and say, I want to take the Comprehensive Ethics Training course on a particular day. They hit Enroll, and they'll automatically be provided with a system-generated email confirming their enrollment, okay? In addition to that, it will also have, like, the WebEx information. I know that some of you have an issue with WebEx, so for those of you who want agency-specific trainings, but you don't like WebEx for whatever reason, or your ITS team doesn't like it, or you have issues with updating it or anything like that, and you prefer Zoom or you prefer Teams, no problem. Just contact us, let us know. And for those of you folks who want to do just an agency-specific one, send us a link, make us a co-host. It's easy as that. We're pretty flexible. But for the open training sessions, right now, the only tool that we have right now is WebEx. So fortunately, that's all we can utilize. And